Hi, Amy.
Hi, Elmer.
How are you today?
I've been answering sort of grading on a curve. Grading on a curve, I'm doing fantastic. I really am. And just so grateful to be in the role I'm in and doing the work I'm doing and working with the team I'm working. And look, we're in a global pandemic. And so that's bananas and hard and requires a lot of us individually. It requires too much of us individually and requires a ton of us as leaders. And so the work right now is legit, like it's hardcore. And at least in the role I'm in, it's this incredible privilege. So I feel like I'm fantastic.
That's such a thoughtful answer. No surprise coming from you. So help us understand, how does United Way operate right now? What are you working on? You're clearly in the office, so how have you changed your work style? Just
Yeah, I'm in the
everything.
office for the second time in 8 weeks because we had an emergency plumbing need at home, which, awesome.
Oh,
Great, right? And it'll be totally fine. But here I am at the office, which it's sort of like a house, not a home right now because the team's not here. But it is good to see my desk and a real office chair and some of those things that I've been missing at home. But when I think about United Way and everything we're doing right now, I think about what I heard Brian Gallagher from United Way Worldwide say, which is really we were built for this. We came out of our history of United Way is sort of out of the Great Depression and that crisis.
mm,
And when this crisis hit our community, I think a lot about the fact that we weren't building from scratch. We weren't starting to say like, oh my gosh, how do you fundraise? How do you determine how to invest in the community? What's it like to mobilize volunteers? Where's our advocacy voice needed? We had so many strong building blocks in place, and we had to start to use them in a way differently than we'd ever used them before. This is really our first foray into fundraising outside of the annual campaign that United Way traditionally does. So that was new. The focus, the certainly doing it remotely was brand new for us. We have been a largely in-office workforce. I mean, we go out and see our customers who we fundraise from all the time, but work happens in the office. And so just like wildly proud of this team for all the ways they were agile and are working hard and are juggling just like crazy to make
mhm.
this all work right now. A lot of our colleagues are working more than they normally work right now, which is not sustainable forever, but to lift this fund, to stay connected to our community partners, to mobilize volunteers in safe ways, lots and lots going on, but it's all awesome. So I think everybody is finding ways to stay energized and stay healthy and all that good stuff you would ask.
Tell us about some of the recent wins.
Yeah, there's just wins all over the place, Elmer, which I'm so grateful for. And again, when we say we're not starting from scratch, one of the things we're starting from is living in a community where so many people care about the community, right?
Hmm.
Just this incredible culture of philanthropy here in the Milwaukee area and these families and these companies who just always do the right thing, which is something we do not take for granted that we're so, so grateful for. I think about a project like Clare House. So Clare House, if for anyone who hasn't heard, is one-time convent, one-time seminary in St. Francis that partnership with the Archdiocese, with the county, the city, corporate funders, the National Guard, United Way dollars, which means donor dollars, was able to transform a building that had been vacant into housing both for COVID-19 positive individuals who weren't sick enough to need a hospital bed, but didn't have somewhere safe to self-quarantine, which means they were going to be spreading COVID-19 if we couldn't get them somewhere safe to be. We also opened a whole wing of beds for individuals who are experiencing homelessness, who again, because of age, because of underlying health, and just the transient nature that tends to happen when you're not safely housed, could have been huge vectors for infection in our community. So to be able to really on like 1 week notice, transform this building, get people in there safely, make sure they're fed, make sure folks have PPE that they need to be able to provide care. That only happens because of those pre-existing relationships that United Way has been so privileged to cultivate over the years. And specifically recently deepening our work in homelessness with our goal to end family homelessness in our region by 2025. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying we weren't building from the ground up, which is just such a huge, huge win. I also think about an organization like Bread of Healing Clinic, which traditionally sees medically complex individuals in their clinic, which are exactly the folks you don't want having to go to a clinic right now for obvious reasons. But they weren't built to be a mobile workforce. But in partnership with United Way and some other great organizations, we were able to get their individuals safe antiviral gear so they could go out and do home visits. We got them gas cards so they could get out. And so all of those individuals with a great need to stay connected to their healthcare providers were able to keep getting care without having to make the really terrible choice of having to go into a clinic at a time where it might not have been safe for you to do that. So the food pantries, Impact 211, like I wish we had like one of those scrolling lists where they could just keep coming down the screen, because it's just been astonishing with the community support, what we've been able to accomplish.
That is, that's exceptional and well beyond what I was expecting. One of the things that we've heard so much about, and we want to hear more from, is the Mask Up MKE movement.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, you all are doing an extraordinary and diverse set of work. So tell us about Mask Up MKE.
Oh, this is such a cool project with 100 partners. So I don't want to start naming names, we're going to miss somebody, but I do have to say thank the Bucks organization and the Five-Star Forum for being sort of the physical house for this. So the idea behind Mask Up Milwaukee is it's going to be a long time where it's the case where many of us are going to want or need to wear masks in public as we start to venture out of our houses a little more. And some of us forgot to learn how to sew. So, how do you start that process? We were able to build a lot of great partnerships where the idea is anyone can do some no-sew mask assembly at their house. And what I love best about this project is, first of all, almost anybody can help. And second of all, because of the expertise of United Way and specifically our incredible volunteer engagement team, we were able, in partnership with the medical college, to build a system to make sure it was safe for people to be working on these masks and for us to distribute the masks that people are giving. So it's one thing to say, hey, we need essentially 5,000 separate people to show up and grab a box and make these masks. But how do you build the schedule and the sign up so people aren't all in the same space at the same time? So we built a system that it's in car, you're popping your trunk, you're already pre-registered, so you don't have to interact with anybody when you go for your pickup. We also are doing health screening questions when you sign up, and then you're getting another phone call 24 hours before your pickup to make sure it's safe for you to be getting this box. And then after you drop off your box, that box sits in one spot, it doesn't go anywhere until 3 days later, you get a follow-up health screen call to make sure nothing has changed, nobody in your household has become COVID-19 positive or has come in interaction with somebody who's COVID-19 positive. So we know it's safe to give out that specific box to the community. And so all of those infrastructure, all of those technology things in place happens only when you're accustomed to running large-scale, complex volunteer events, which our team is just great at. And so we're really proud to have been able to provide that infrastructure, and specifically our website for anybody who wants to sign up. We're coming up on the end of sort of the first series of dates for Mask Up Milwaukee. We got just instantaneous, awesome response from this community, because that's what this community does. But I think starting March 12th, we're going to have some new dates open. So if you've slept on this one, if you haven't yet made your mask, Elmer, I could see some origami in your future.
That's and the date is going to be May 12th?
Yes, this will be the next round.
We'll have to make sure. So, one of the things I'm hearing is you all have this extraordinary capacity for standing up extremely complex work very quickly.
Yeah.
And while that's a skill set that's important for a lot of different companies, it's usually exercised during normal operating, times. How have you all, and I'm actually going to ask you as the leader, how have you created a management system for managing in such a complex moment, such complex operations?
Well, I've been watching a lot of these videos that you're doing, and I'll echo a theme I've heard a lot of, which is, of course, communication, right? That especially when you don't have the advantage of being able to get everybody around the same table, or your standing meetings that would happen while you're in office, just that communicate strategy. We started using Microsoft Teams, which we weren't using before, which has been a great, not exactly a stand-in for stopping by somebody's desk, but better than other tools that we had. The senior team is meeting 3 times a week, which is much more often than the cadence we meet when we're in office. I also think about what an incredible advantage it is to be at United Way or other sort of mission-driven organizations, whether you're for-profit or non-for-profit, which is to say, when you have the organizing principle that the work we're doing is helping the community this way, I feel like that's 2/3 of the battle. The people who work at United Way, as you can imagine, I think they're the best people in town, and they work here not because we have the single highest payroll or pay structure in town. They work here because they care a lot about helping the community. And so when you're asking them to be agile, when you're asking them to juggle childcare or parent care or the dog at home or the plumbing crisis that happened or whatever, they can see why they're working so hard. They can see when they're putting in the effort, when they're putting in that little extra, here's somebody in the community who had access to safe food, or here's the call that got picked up faster at 211 with somebody who really needed help. And that just feels amazing. And so in some ways, I feel like it's leadership training wheels, in that this would be hard in any environment, but I just have that huge advantage as a leader personally of having this team that's so focused around purpose and mission, and just how dang good that feels.
So with that in mind, what do you see as the future of aligning other organizations around mission? Do you imagine that our language will change around that, or that it will embed itself into other ways that businesses and for and nonprofits do their work?
Yeah, I really like your word embed there, because our people see the real deal, right? Like you might be able to sort of fake the funk as a leader for a short while, but eventually, the real deal is going to come through, and there's just not much worse than sort of trying to pull the wool over your team's eyes. Like, that's not going to help anybody, obviously. So, what we try to do at United Way, what I want us to do even more of at United Way, is really partner with the companies we fundraise from to say, what's meaningful to your organization, the people who work for you, what are they passionate about? And let's find that alignment between the work that you do, the impact you can have in the community, and your desire and your people's desire for you to have it. There are some organizations where it's just more natural fit to say, hey, because of the work we do around safety, our people are really passionate about helping the community be safe, and what might we be able to do together on that. Or look, my folks, whether it's aligned with our business purpose or not, are just super passionate about early childhood education, and could we partner together on my very own library or one of the other projects United Way is doing? And the answer is yes, right? And so one of the things I love about this job I have is to get to partner people with their passions, to say, I've never met somebody who's like, oh, I'm bummed that my dollars or my volunteer work helped other people. It's the opposite, right? It feels so good when it's in your power to do something to help other people. And so that's going to be most sustainable at companies when you can find that Venn diagram of your people care, it makes sense for your business, and here's how it's helping the community. And if we're not already partnering with your business to accomplish that, I really want us to be doing it, because it's such an accelerator for your relationships with your colleagues, your stakeholders care about it, and you're doing good in the community. It's just such a win, such a win.
I love it. Partnering people with their passions.
Yeah.
Do you have that tattooed already, or?
I'm currently tattoo free, Elmer, but breaking news, no tattoos.
Yeah.
but if I were to have one, that would be a good contender.
I like it. Okay, so I want you to tell me a story. The story I want to hear is about what happened because you and United Way and your GMC member peers came together in all the ways that you know that we can.
Yeah.
Tell me the story about what Milwaukee is like because that happened.
Some of the story is already there, but there's a lot of aspiration to that story still. I think a lot about something I know a couple people have said, but I heard our board chair, Linda Benfield, say it recently, which is, right now we're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. And when I think about the underlying inequities in our community that exist, nobody wants those inequities to exist. We all want to feel like we're in a community where everybody has their best chance to live and thrive and learn. And we know we can do this. These problems that we've been living with in our community for a long time, Elmer, for really generations in most circumstances, are problems that human beings created, which I know means human beings can solve them. And it's a matter of political will. It's a matter of effort. It's a matter of resources and how we allocate them. But my vision of Milwaukee, and I know it's a little utopian, but my vision of Milwaukee and our surrounding 4 counties that we get to represent is that we all continue the piece that we can do. The power of United Way is nobody has to do it all by themselves. But when we come together to work on the big problems, you can see real progress. It's sort of one of the incredible things about the scale of Milwaukee is that we're big enough, there are enough of us that we all do sort of our part, and you can see where you're making an impact. And so when we set a goal to end family homelessness in our region, that wasn't just aspirational, although certainly it is aspirational, but it's not only aspirational. We know we can accomplish that. We know with the resources we have in this community, that's something we can accomplish. Our United Way, in partnership with our Diversity Leadership Society, also set a goal to reduce African American unemployment in our region. And we did that, again, because we know it can be done and we know it should be done. And so, we're not in the habit of setting goals that we can't achieve. And we know in this incredible community with so many incredible people in it, this is stuff we can get done. Even in a global pandemic, this is stuff that we can get done.
That is excellent. So a former GMC colleague, Brian Schipper, he used to use the phrase Goldilocks City and to describe Milwaukee. And I thought it was so perfect. We're big enough to be a real city. And so can I ask you some personal questions?
Sure.
All right. You haven't been to the office more than twice in the last 8 weeks, which means you've had a lot of home time.
I have.
What have you been watching?
Lots, maybe too much. We finished Ozark, which was like, holy cow. We're watching Succession, and then we had to balance that out because, man, that's dark. We got to balance that out with some fun. So we are also watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is hysterically funny. I like it so much. We've also been like digging into the DVD drawer and like watching some movies we haven't seen in a while. So like there's an old Robert Downey Jr. movie called Heart and Souls, which I love, and we watched that one recently. And while we were finishing up our masks the other night, we watched My Fellow Americans, which is like a mid-90s movie with Jack Lemmon and James Garner and Dan Aykroyd, where like 2 ex-presidents who hate each other have to like work together to save the republic. Like it's silly and fun, but also really lovely and
resonates for the moment.
What I'll say there, Elmer, is the best advice I could ever give anybody is to marry somebody you really, really like. And so I'm super grateful to be married to my husband, Jason, who, in addition to being a great person and a great husband, is also a great roommate, which does not sound very romantic, but in the last, 8+ weeks of a lot of togetherness has really helped us a lot. So nobody else can marry Jason, but I recommend marrying somebody really awesome.
That is absolutely sage advice. My wife and I have a particular language we use where we every day tell each other that we love one another.
Yeah.
And occasionally when one of us is feeling particularly warm, we say, I like you, which actually can mean even something more special. So I know that you've been having a bunch of living room dance parties. What have you been dancing to?
Well, dancing, and then also just like, so that's half of music for me, and music I know you and I both love. And then I also think about the music that I don't know, helps me like feel my feelings and like brings down the pulse a little bit and soothes a little bit. And so there's a they're called the High Women. It's a country act, like a country super group, like Brandy Carlisle and others that are together. And they sing these beautiful harmonies and beautiful songwriting. And there's a song called Crowded Table that I just keep going back to right now. And so it's the part of the hook is, I want a house with a crowded table with a place by the fire for everyone. And I just think like, oh, that longing we have right now to like be together, and the ways that, I want to commune with people I care about, and all the ways we're trying to approximate that virtually, right? Reaching out and letter writing and Zoom calls and all those good things that don't feel quite as good as like having a seat at the table that your friend can come to. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. But to your point about dance parties, like, yes. I know you and I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we've talked about that 2018. Was that a Riverside concert or a past concert at the Riverside?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, that's there's nothing quite like Earth, Wind, and Fire. And if I got to pick a walk-up song, like, most of us aren't baseball players, but man, it'd be hard to beat Shining Star. That's a good one.
I agree with you. You every day and every interaction I've had with you have absolutely been a shining star. Okay, so as we wrap this conversation, you have this moment, you have a private audience with our GMC members, and I am going to really challenge you to record your off-the-record message to them.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where you get to say the thing that you feel has gone unsaid but needs to be heard.
I don't know if I can come up with anything that's been unsaid. I'd want to start, Elmer, from a place of real empathy, that all of us right now who are leading are leading for the first time in a global pandemic. None of us are old enough that we were around to lead during the Spanish flu. So a ton of empathy for the fact that whatever your company, whatever your role, you're facing challenges, opportunities, that none of us have ever faced before. And so when I say the next sentence of, I want you to do even more, I don't want to say that without just really contextualizing just how dang hard this is right now for everybody. But I'm nonetheless going to challenge you to do more, and to say, when you can pick up your head for even a millisecond behind the immediate needs of your team and your business, which absolutely should have your focus. Your family, of course, should have your focus. But for those of us who are privileged enough to be okay in this, to be healthy, to be financially secure, there has never been a time like this where, in terms of community need. And I would love to talk to anybody on this call, or anybody who's watching this or at GMC. If you don't feel like you've yet done everything you can do to help other people in your community, we want to help you figure out what that looks like for your company. We want to help you. Your employees will love it. It'll feel amazing. Again, I don't say that being like, what are you guys doing? We know what you're doing. You're working really hard for your businesses to do what you can in these really challenging times. And it's also true, your community needs you. So if you can, let's talk about how everybody can do their part to make sure this is just the safest, happiest, healthiest city we can possibly make it, that we can make this economic recovery be not only as fast as it can possibly be, but I hope bring a new level of equity to those efforts than this community sometimes has achieved.
Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elmer.
So happy that we got to do this. And
me too.
I am receiving this moment as an invitation for us to have many more conversations and to continue working together.
I love it. Great to see you. Take good care.
Have a great one.
Bye-bye.